that has spanned age, and it has spanned nationalities and culture.
Mm. Mm.
Um, and in the original founding of SEALI,
Mm.
uh, we were much more conceptual.
Mm.
The conceptual part was that ASEAN, Southeast Asia,
Mm.
uh, just needed to have uh, kind of ordinary people or citizen leaders
Yeah.
uh, be much more bonded and connected to each other.
Yeah.
Um, and in these 15 years, it
Yeah.
for me has just been a joy and a delight to see these personal friendships grow
Mm.
across, among young people and across ages.
Mm.
I mean, like you and my life as a Vietnamese American. I know too.
Mm.
Um, for a time, the Thais were, well
Mm.
connected, and I was going to work in Thailand, and that is just such a joy
Yes.
to have, um,
Yeah.
because those sorts of connections was not part of the Southeast experience for
Mm.
many people for a long time, and I think it still is not.
It is still not. Yes, I
It,
agree.
it still is not, which is such a shame.
Yes.
Which is such a shame.
Mm.
As you know, having studied in Singapore, the Singaporeans are still looking to the West,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm not saying it should stop looking to the West, but it just doesn't look at what there is within Southeast Asia.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes. 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 Yeah. Um.
Right?
Yeah. I agree. Um.
But then you may ask the question, why is that important? And I can tell you why I, as Leng, find that important
Yeah. That's good.
15 years ago, why I
Uh.
find it important now. But the more important thing is that um, each person involved in SEALNet must try to answer that question for themselves.
Yes.
Uh,
Yes.
my reasons were pretty much, how shall I say,
Ah.
social, uh, geographical, kind of societal issues.
Mm.
By social, I don't mean like Facebook kind of
Yes.
get
Yes.
together.
Yeah.
Uh, because of my experiences at the United World College and
Mm.
having traveled in Southeast Asia, having hitchhiked
Mm.
in Malaysia when I was very young,
Mm.
hitchhiked from Singapore to Beijing
Mm.
in my, uh, how old was I, 30 when I did that,
Mm.
Malaysia when I was 22.
Mm.
Um, always having been Western oriented, but having had these two opportunities in
Mm.
Southeast Asia,
Mm.
uh, it touched and formed me in a very important way, and I simply
Mm.
hope that other Southeast Asians, similarly westernized, might also
Mm.
have such a local experience. This is one. What they
Yes.
get out of it is for them to get out of it. What I got out of it
Yeah.
was a sense of gratitude uh, and understanding
Mm.
for the richness that's here of the human spirit, mostly the richness of the human spirit.
Mm. 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 Mm.
Um,
Yes.
I think we underestimate ourselves in Southeast Asia
Mm.
about who we
Mm.
are,
Mm.
because our lives are always taken up by the bigger powers,
Mm. Yes.
whether they
Yes.
are
Yes.
Western or Asian, like Japanese or Chinese. We
Chinese. Yes.
underestimate who we are
Yeah.
and what we bring. Um,
Mm.
so as I started reading about Southeast Asia, I was quite amazed that Southeast Asia is the only part of the world in which all the
Mm.
major religious civilizations
Yeah.
have actually had
Yeah.
strong influence. We're not talking like the United States where people are just immigrants and
Yes.
there's less than 200 years to any culture, right?
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
Buddhism less than 50 years.
Mm.
We're talking about Hindus who have been here since the Majapahit, 12th
Mm.
century. Uh,
Mm.
the the Buddhists have been here, in
Mm.
Myanmar
For
since the
so
time
long.
of of Buddha's disciples. right? And then the Confucianists have been here because of the waves of Chinese immigrants, and then the Christians arrived actually, 14, 1500s with the Portuguese,
Yes. Yes.
So
Yes.
so even Christianity has been in this region for a very long time.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, this is longer
Yeah.
than any of these cultures in the United States.
Yeah. Longer than any of these.
Yes, and
Yes.
and yet in so many ways, it is also a pity that we don't see that, and therefore we don't value that, and we don't. I think maybe we really don't think of ourselves as serious people.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
but serious Buddhist teachers from
Yeah.
Thailand and Indochina have touched the West.
Yes.
But here we don't think that we have produced serious Buddhist teachers.
Yes.
Uh,
Yeah.
and certainly we've not produced serious Christian thinkers. What a shame.
Yes. 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 Yeah.
Now, when I founded it, this was right after the Bali bombings, and so there was this sense of, oh my gosh, Southeast Asia going to unravel, and
Yeah.
what will the big powers like the US do to unravel it?
Yeah.
And I started reading up, and there are lots of Singaporean playwrights that are very Southeast Asian minded,
Yeah.
and what was his name? I should show you some of the letters I first wrote for fundraising. But it struck me that many Westerners predicted that Southeast Asia would go up in flames because they didn't believe that a place of so many cultures
Religion.
could actually thrive alongside each other. But we actually have.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
So that is one. And I think the politics of the region. I have probably been the one encouraging people to understand the politics of the region in the best sense of understanding politics, which is to sort of understand what are the hopes and dreams of the different cultures and of the different governments, and the price that people have paid for it. Incidentally, the Singapore Art Museum, which just opened, is an incredible treasure trove of Southeast Asian artists.
Wow.
They have pictures from the Marcos era, artists who resisted oppression. And it is quite amazing. This was not present 15 years ago. So even Southeast Asians themselves and the governments are becoming open to saying we have a history worth looking at.
Yeah.
Right, that's one. Then I think, this is me. I've always been sort of a historian and interested in how societies interact. I wish there were more SEALNet nutters
Historian.
Interested in that. Yeah, but most people tend to be engineers or something coming into.
Or entrepreneurs. Very action oriented. Yeah.
So I think what elders can always provide then is context, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Give people a sense of a longer sense of time. It's actually called history. Give people a sense of politics, healthy politics, citizenship politics. For example, I've been saying to folks, get interested. It doesn't mean get to be agitators, right?
Yeah.
That's not what I mean. Just get interested.
Yeah.
Take it seriously, the politics of the countries you are in, because that's one way to value the people you're interacting with. So there was one year, almost 10 years ago, a bunch of folks, Malaysians, decided to do a project with the indigenous in West Malaysia.
Yeah.
And in the middle of the night, the UMNO youth group started harassing them, thinking they were kind of because
Doing
they were
some
all
shady stuff.
Yeah, that they were Chinese people doing shady stuff. But, that's because they were Vietnamese and, who look Chinese anyway. Sorry, Korean, right? But you know what I mean.
I know.
They're brown people, and then there are Chinese-looking people. So, although it was quite diverse, they were not brown-skinned people, right? Not Malay people. So they get harassed, and I thought that was really good because they were woken out of their naivete about just doing simple social work. But we didn't have enough time to help people really absorb. In other words, what I'm hoping is that people will become mature and sensitive about the politics and social issues of each other's countries. You know, we are not just existing to be cheap sources of labor, cheap place to have vacation, and for the Vietnamese, a cheap way to have an education in Singapore, and then you never want to come back and visit it again, right? I mean, this is sort of using each other, you know, you know, like don't use each other. I mean, use each other in a good way, but understand where people are coming from. Right? Because I think it just makes one a better person, a better leader, a better business person, to just not make use of each other, but understand where each other is coming from, and then when we do, and then we can be useful to each other. Right?
Because if you, it's very. We all learned that lesson in one way or another, and SEALNet has been a beautiful way to learn that lesson. That if you don't really understand someone, most of the attempt to help will become a disaster.
Yeah. And that happens all the time.
Yes. Still until today.
Yes. You know, so I think some of the habits of mind of service learning that KB put forward, the cross-cultural understanding, the coaching, this is just simply to open up people's hearts and people's minds, right? Minds and hearts must be open to really engage. Because the societies that Southeast Asians live in are worth the engagement. It's worth being responsible for it.
Leng, give me 1 second. I'll move it to a better connection spot. This is
sure
not as poor connection right now. Let me see if this room is better. Now let me go outside. Yes. Oh, my phone is playing. Let me move to this room with better internet.
Sure.
Yeah, the internet is good. I'm here. Yeah, Hui is playing the piano. So.
Oh, good.
Yes. Okay. So you were saying that some of those habits that you and KB introduced, the coaching, the cross-cultural understanding, a way to open people's minds and heart to engage.
Yes. And so then around all these sort of aspirations, which are intangible, you know, comes the actual doing of things. And here, you know, successive generations have been wonderful to do. Because in the doing, hopefully one gets to experience friendship, love, engagement with the society, engagement with one's own society, seeing into the beautiful parts and seeing into the ugly parts, right?
Yes.
Because you need courage to look into the ugly parts, and every society has ugly parts. And you have to look into it.
clear, with more intimate
Yes.
working experience with each other.
Yes. Yes.
Ah,
It's not just all shopping and vacation and beach.
yeah,
Right?
yeah.
So, continually when Southeast Asians and people coming to Southeast Asia to realize there are 500 million people living here.
Yes. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And they're all different.
Yeah, they're all
Yeah,
so different.
yeah,
And as a Singaporean, by now ex-Singaporean, because
yes.
Singapore government has asked me to renounce my citizenship
Oh, wow.
since I've become an American.
Mhm.
I had a particular, hope for my fellow Singaporeans that,
Mm,
as someone growing up in Singapore who wanted to go to the West,
mhm.
I think again everyone who wants to go to
No,
the West should try.
yes,
I'm not putting down the West, but
yeah,
it took me going to the West to then say I'm really curious about Southeast Asia.
mm,
And I said to so many Singaporeans who
mm,
can't go to the West and who are just like stuck in Singapore,
mm,
find themselves stuck. Why don't you go to Vietnam to work? Why don't you go to Burma to work? And the
yeah,
most disastrous thing is they
yeah,
don't want to.
yes,
You know, they're so afraid. You've met these people before.
yes, yes. So in Vietnam, there are not that many Singaporean who work here. Not that many.
Yes, isn't that a shame? As for you, someone who's gone to school in Singapore, how many of your Singaporean friends said, "Hey, can I come home with you to Vietnam?" Any one of
Yeah,
them?
yeah, yeah, yeah. I haven't
Anyone?
seen any.
Anyone?
No, mostly for tourist purpose.
You know.
Mm, mm, mm. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So,
And
so that's a failure on the part of Singapore and the Singapore schools. With
mm,
all these ASEAN scholars who come, but no one's saying to them, "Hey, I just want to come home and stay with you and experience your life,
mm,
step into your shoes."
mm,
Why aren't Singaporeans doing that?
mm,
So
mm, mm.
for having had so many Singaporeans involved, I think we have not made a dent in the mindset of Singaporeans to
Mm, mm, mm.
really, really want to understand and know other Southeast Asians.
Yeah. Um, this is
You know,
this is slightly off topic, but I'm curious about what do you think are the reason for this maybe lack of interest.
we could say lack of interest, obsession with the West, comfort zone, etc., etc. But I
Mm,
think at the end of the day, it's this chicken and egg thing. Which one
yeah,
comes first? Um,
yeah,
it's a lack of curiosity and a lack of
mm,
imagination.
mm, mm, mhm, mhm, mhm.
It's a lack of imagination. People
Yeah,
can imagine themselves going to Paris and Rome. They can't imagine themselves going to Vientiane and what's
yeah.
that beautiful place in Laos called?
You
Um,
mean Vientiane?
no, in Laos, the other place.
Oh,
Um,
Sulong Phabang. Is that
yeah,
Sulong Phabang?
yes.
Yeah.
They can't
Um,
imagine.
yeah, yeah. I agree. I agree.
They can't imagine themselves going to Vietnam and spending 2 years and working in a company there and learning, and that learning will help them later on in life. They cannot imagine that.
Mm, mm,
So then they don't
yeah,
do it.
yeah. Ah.
And the governments cannot imagine that
Mm,
because if they did, uh, and this has been my fantasy, that for all the ASEAN scholarship stuff, you know,
yeah.
the best would be you go take half a year, go to another school. Doesn't matter whether then always the complaint is, oh, the standards are not high enough or too low or too different. That's not
People
the
are too
point,
chill.
right? The point
Yeah,
is just to go do it. then
yeah,
then just allow people to do that.
yeah.
you know doesn't matter whether they learn or not learn the actual subject, can or cannot learn. They
Mm,
come back and they learn something else, right? Because this
mm,
happens in Europe all the time in the
mm,
last 50 years after the post-war era. And this happened, you know, well, it could happen in the US more, but it doesn't, which is why the US is such a, parochial place.
Yeah. I agree. Hello? Slightly disconnected. Let's see. Somehow we are disconnected. Okay.
Hey, hello,
Yeah.
are you there? Yeah.
Yes. We are back. Yeah. You were
Right.
saying you have. Yeah. It could happen in the US too, and that's why it's such a parochial place.
Right.
We,
You see, but the Europeans do it. The Europeans do it. That's why this newer generation is much more Eurocentric. The people who are against Europe are the ones who they are not educated young people, right? They're the backwater rural people who are coming in to destroy it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you don't have a 17-year-old. There was a 17-year-old Singaporean interested in going over to
Yeah.
to Vietnam. You know what they'll say, right? Hey,
Yeah.
your A levels is coming up. You're disrupted. Why don't you just stay back? Okay,
Yeah.
then why don't we send them at 14 then when there are no A levels? Oh, 14, too young. Okay, then
Yeah.
basically when is a good age? Oh, there really isn't a good age.
Yeah.
Then
Yeah.
it never happens.
Yeah. And then I on our end we can blame ourselves. Oh, we are not attractive enough. Our education system is not attractive enough because we cannot compete in that measurement.
Right. So then you
Yeah.
give up because you cannot compete. But that's not the point, right? The
Yeah.
point is to
Yeah.
say Vietnam and Vietnamese young people are worth getting to know in and of itself, period.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
And these stupid school trips of 2 weeks, that's useless.
Yeah. Yeah. I went to every year. I went to one of them, so I know. It
Right?
was good
Aren't they?
expo. Yeah. Yeah.
It's an exposure. So what? There's no engagement. So the
Yeah.
good thing about SEALNet is that there's engagement. And I think
Yeah.
however it wants to go in the future, it just needs more engagement. I
Yeah.
just now hope that with all the alumni together,
Yeah.
isn't someone in the Ministry of Education somewhere that can engineer these exchanges by now?
Yeah.
You see?
Yeah. Yeah.
Or sponsor work internships.
Yeah. Yeah. Something like
I
that now.
cannot understand that there aren't more people saying, let me at least spend 1 year working in Myanmar. I just spent 1 year wandering through Myanmar. Why not? Some business opportunity will come up. You know
Yeah.
the Chinese are there. You know the
Yeah.
Russians are there. You know
Yeah.
that bloodthirsty Americans are there. How come
Yes.
no Singaporean, Malaysian, Thais wandering around
Yeah.
Burma?
Yeah. Yeah.
Huh?
You are.
Why?
Yeah. True. 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 Uh, Now you make me think about people who wander around, say India, because India
Yeah,
is more famous for the spiritual land.
yeah.
So you can. It's easy. It's tempting to quote unquote belittle Southeast Asia by saying we don't really see a track record of business success, neither do we see a track record of spiritual success, so no one comes here. And
That's right. And that's why I
that's
say it's
a
a lack of imagination, right?
that's totally a lack of imagination.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I know some Westerner American who went to say Tibet and make a good business out of it, and
Yes.
that's good imagination.
Yeah. Then how come no Singaporean, or by Singaporean I use it as a metaphor for the first world in this region, but
Yeah.
there are lots of first world people in Saigon as well.
Yes. Yeah.
Why
Yeah.
aren't they going to Burma or Laos? And
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
this is where I think some of the SEALNet programs have not achieved their full potential because it's school oriented, and I don't know whether it's still the case, but it was directed towards getting people into college, which means the attention is still about going out to the West.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so to fantasize, to think, to imagine that you can actually do some really long-term stuff in Southeast Asia.
Yeah.
Make lives better, make money.
Yeah. On a good note, I have met people who Vietnamese who went to Thailand to study on social impact program, and go to Malaysia to study social impact program, and the opposite is also true. So it is happening, and I'm happy that it's happening. Quite a few SEALNet alumni is more involved this uh, in this social impact work within the Southeast Asian region. So
That's great.
that's something worth celebrating too.
Yes. And these are SEALNet Vietnamese people, or just
Yeah,
Vietnamese period.
SEALNet Vietnamese. Because
Yes.
once you get to know people in the SEALNet network, then you are more aware of all the different
Yes.
opportunities out there for short-term study exchange, internship, or even school. So yeah, that's one good thing that is happening.
Yes. And of course, this has a lot to do with the Vietnamese character and the particular kind of Vietnamese students that have gone to the West. You know, right?
Yeah.
Because each country has a different profile, right?
Yes.
The Thais tend to be government scholars.
Yes.
The Vietnamese, I think, are usually sponsored by U.S. universities,
Yes.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
That will start tapering as Vietnam
Soon.
gets richer. Then you start becoming self-funded.
Yeah.
Then the attention may move to Burma.
Mm-hmm.
So I think, as what can elders provide? Elders can enable current board members to think in ways that they don't always think about, which is to say, as you look at yourselves, you realize that your backgrounds are different.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. That's a beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you. Uh, yeah. Uh, then this is related to something you said, and I wanted to ask you then, because now SEALNet is, yeah, say you are the oldest generation. So we have alumni ranging from 17 years old to 54 years old, and I guess the majority now are in their early 30s.
Yes.
Uh, what would be something that your aspiration for this group?
The leadership question for this group is to, therefore, for this group to ask themselves, what is the leadership challenge for my cohort? Or
Yeah.
what is the civilizational challenge for my cohort?
Ah. Ah. Mm-hmm.
I think
Mm-hmm.
each generation must ask itself, what
Yeah.
is the question for my cohort?
Yeah.
What is the most important question for my cohort that we must respond to?
Ah. Yeah. 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 Uh-huh. Yeah.
And simply use that question to go deeper into whatever is the subject matter.
Mm. Mm.
I
Yeah.
assure you, it is not to get a good university degree and get a good job. That has never
Yeah.
been true for any generation. That's only
Correct.
just a means,
Yes. That's a mean.
right?
Mm-hmm. 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 Yeah. And it's true that most of the richest, most beautiful, rewarding, and important life-changing experience we had happened uh, 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 not in class anyway.
Yes. So what would you say is that, it would be the question, for your cohort?
Mm, yeah. The question that I've always been asking is what is uh, number one is really just what is happening, what is really happening.
Yes, what is really happening in the world?
yeah, a different perspective and different level of depth, because you know, right, there's always the surface events that is happening. There are deeper causes that are operating, and I think that for me to be able to probe in at that level of depth from different perspective is hugely important. And then going back from the depth to the present reality, is that with the present reality, what is what is what sense can we make out of this? And
Yes.
yeah, that is a piece that I find myself most drawn to, and I also seen often missing. It's a missing piece between understanding and doing.
Yes.
Is a sense making.
Yes. See, when I think of Southeast Asian leaders, a generation before me,
Mm. You
my
mean in
parents'
their
generation,
30s? Oh, okay.
yeah,
In the
those who were born in the 30s, the
mm,
big question for their time is what is independence, right? Can,
yeah,
you know, are we capable of governing ourselves?
yeah,
Is the Westerner always superior? Are we not capable of doing things ourselves?
yeah.
Right?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Well, this is true all throughout the region, from Lee Kuan Yew down to Ho Chi Minh and
Yeah.
Suharto and everybody.
Yes. Yes.
Whether you
Yes.
like them or didn't like them is not the question. That whole
Hmm.
generation asked that question, right?
Yeah.
How, yeah, or put it a different way, how can Asians stand on their own 2 feet?
Hmm. 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 Mm.
So it has,
Mm.
right?
Which bring to your generation question.
Yeah. So my generation stood on his own 2 feet and is enjoying the fruits of that, and so I'm
Yeah.
here in a shopping center. But
Yes.
please don't persuade me that the shopping center is the end point of
Oh
Southeast
no.
Asian civilization, right?
Oh no. Yeah. What would you say your question then? Your generation.
I don't think my generation asked that question in a profound way. I think we just wrote the economic opportunities that were available for us,
Mm.
and 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 just work at it. I think some of us believe that the question is how do we give back, because we felt deep gratitude for the
Yeah.
opportunity. So
Yeah.
so perhaps you would say that the early founders of SEALNet, our own personal question, people like
Yeah.
KB and Kevin, was how do we give back,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So that was the question.
Yeah.
Uh, I think your generation, of course, you need to give back,
Yes.
but what is you know the key question?
Yeah.
And maybe it's not just Southeast Asia. Maybe it's your whole generation must ask, what is that? What is the chief challenge of your lifetime?
Mm. Mm. Mm.
What's going to be the perpetual challenge for your
Mm.
generation going forward forever?
Mm. Mm. Yeah. Yeah. Uh, I can speak for myself.
Yes,
Is I went through a phase of wanting to give back, which is
yes,
still there. But I think now it has evolved to what is happening and what needs to be done. Because
yeah,
going
huh.
beyond the gratitude of giving back is like, because when we feel the deeper sense of gratitude, then we also simultaneously develop an awareness of how we are all in this together.
Yeah,
Because
yes,
gratitude is what binds us.
yes, yes. Good. Yeah, you're so right.
Yeah. And then the question become a much larger question of what is happening and what is
Mm,
our role now, what needs to be done now. It's not even giving back, and now I don't even phrase giving back for myself as much anymore.
right.
Yeah, yeah. This is like,
Yeah, giving back can sometimes be palliative, right? I feel
yes,
so grateful. Okay, I'm gonna give back by giving away 2 weeks of my life to a you know you know
yeah,
dental project in the mountains of Laos. Okay, I give them back.
yeah. Which has its own role. It has that role. Yeah,
Yes. No, it has its own place, but
yes,
I think for all the intelligences in SEALNet, it can go beyond that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Right?
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Good. Uh, yeah, I think I would pass on this piece to everyone. But I agree with you. I think it's and SealNet has never been a giving back thing anyway. It was
No.
born out of almost a solution to what were perceived as a challenge of
Yes.
the region.
Yes.
Mm. Yeah. Um, this is good. Um, I have recorded part of this conversation, and I would go over it
Yes.
to and then to write down the transcript, and then I'll share it with you because I want to make sure that it is good.
Yes.
Um, so uh, I'm aware of the time too, and I wanted to we can continue this conversation another time.
Another
But
time.
the
Yes,
last thing I
absolutely.
wanted to ask you maybe last. Yeah, like this is the 15th year anniversary of something you started when you were 39, and now
Yes.
it's a very independent and organic entity, and which has its own challenge and opportunity. So maybe I will ask you for a few maybe benediction for one of your child because you are a priest, so
Oh,
you're good at
yeah. I
that.
would say then to every member in SEALNet, you know, that each person who comes into SEALNet continues to fall in love with another person, make a
Yeah,
friendship,
yeah.
and uh, in my view, nothing makes a friendship sweeter than doing something worthwhile together.
Yeah. Mhm.
And to then fall in love with the physical part of this world, all
Mhm.
its um, bright spots and blemishes,
Mhm.
because we have to love his blemishes as well.
Yes.
And ultimately, then it becomes how we learn to love ourselves, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Or let ourselves be loved.
Mm.
And just not to make this into an ethnic thing, that non-Southeast Asians to come in and to feel this sense of love and connection as well.
Mm. Mm.
Yes, that it continues to do this work of love.
Mm. 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 Yeah.
Yeah,
Ah.
justice is love made public. Uh,
Uh-huh.
service is, I know, empathy made public.
Mm.
Um,
Mhm. Mhm.
you know,
Mm. That's nice. That's Thank you. Thank you. Um,
entrepreneurship is love having fun,
entrepreneurship is love having fun. I like that.
right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that is
Yeah.
my hope. And I mean that you and I have been friends. I mean, how would this have happened without SealNet?
I know. That's so beautiful. And hope now
Yeah,
staying with us. Yeah.
it just wouldn't happen with something like this without SealNet.
I know. I know. Yes. And then you attended my graduation, and that's beautiful. That wouldn't have happened.
No, not at all.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
And it was not like I was just looking out for you. When your cohort, there were other people that I would have similarly paid attention to,
Yeah.
uh, but they didn't think they could have my attention, so they never got it. Too bad.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Yeah. Amazing grace. Amazing grace.
Right.
Yeah.
And you have given other people attention. So there's
Yeah.
been a core group here, but it's not because we somehow, I don't know, think of each other as the in group. I think, each person can reach out always to maybe two or three, and
Yeah.
then that gets strengthened.
Yeah. 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 And it grow from there.
Yes. And in this, I want to say to SEALNet, if you have had friendships here that have lasted more than 7 years, you have beaten the American record, right? The American
Ah,
record for friendship is 7 years.
for friendship, you mean?
Yes.
Okay. Maybe marriage too. I don't know.
Maybe what?
Marriage. I don't know. I don't know what that record is, but I can look it up. Ah, 7 years friendship. Okay. Okay. That's something to be
So
proud
you
of.
have exceeded 7. There are many people in SEALNet who have exceeded 7 years of friendship with each other.
Yes. Yes. For
Right?
sure. For sure. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's
Yeah.
something to celebrate. That breaks
Yes.
the average American record for how long a friendship lasts.
Ah. Okay. Okay. Something to be proud of.
Uh-huh.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Thank you. Thank you for telling me this. I would share this fact with my Western buddies. Yeah. 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 True. 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 It is true. It is very true. Yeah. Good. Good.
Okay, my
Thank
dear
you.
friend.
Thank you. Thank
Thank
you.
you. I can see a little bit better now. Now I've got to go see my lawyers.
Okay. Okay. Please stay
Doctor,
well.
lawyer, doctor, lawyer,
Engineer, you need to
dentist.
see another engineer, and then
Yes.
you will fulfill the Indian parent dream.
Thank you so much for
Thank you.
taking the time and for your leadership in this and curating this. Really
Yes,
appreciate it.
I'm
Okay.
happy. This is the work I'm meant to do. Okay. Thank you,
Take
Leng.
care.
Take care. Take
Bye.
care. Bye bye. Bye bye.